Yep.
Dundee United have put out a statement shortly before we came on air tonight to say that they are withdrawing their representation from it. Let's just say it was a stinging stroke, scathing statement. And as much as what it didn't say is what it did say. Clearly unhappy. I've got a little bit of it here, if you bear with us, which I thought was the key parts. I'm sure everybody will take their own key part, but Dundee United FC has today formally notified the Scottish Football Association of our decision to withdraw our representation from the KMI panel. This decision follows extensive discussions throughout the season with the Scottish FA refereeing department, where we raised concerns regarding the panel's purpose, effectiveness and impact on Scottish football. We believe the panel's outcomes have been inconsistent with feedback provided by the Scottish FA. This is where it gets interesting. There have been instances where on-field decisions supported by VAR and endorsed by the Scottish FA refereeing department were contradicted by the KMA panel. In many cases, these disagreements appear to be based on the opinions of panel members who, for the most part, lack significant experience in the laws of the game. Subsequent outcomes have been magnified by external media misrepresentations, placing undue pressure on our match officials and potentially influencing further future decisions. We believe changes should be made to the KMI panel, or an alternative, more robust process should be used for reviewing refereeing decisions if deemed a requirement. They're slaughtering it, is my sort of initial reaction to that. They're slaughtering the process.
Strong words, Des.
Yeah, very strong. I think if you pick out a couple of the key points there that were mentioned, the first one that comes to me is the purposeness, the effectiveness and the impact. They're basically saying it's irrelevant. They do not trust it. Now, it then furthers on and says there are inconsistencies supported by the SFA. Now, my first thing is, and it was the first thing that came to mind when you sent me, Daniel, was nobody knows who these panel members are. And when you talk about a lack of significant experience
That's the one.
in the laws of the game.
That's the one for me. What are they doing on it if they don't understand the laws of the game? What's
Exactly.
the point?
So that this is the picture I was building to before we got there, because if you're going to have a key match incident review panel, it has to be somebody who knows the incidents that they're looking at. Now, you're not going to take your car into a garage and say, oh, you need a new timing belt or you need something done to it. That guy is an experienced mechanic who knows how to operate the systems that they're having to make judgments upon. You presume giving it to my 10-year-old son and just move it up. That's pretty much what they're saying there. So,
well, what are they saying? Because I want to drill into this a little bit, Des. Do you know what my first reaction to that is? Are they suggesting that it's former players? Are they suggesting that it's people, obviously, who don't have a background of being officials? That, to me, is what it has to be stressing. Either that or they're saying that our officials don't know the rule book.
Which is entirely wrong, because our officials do know the rule book.
Well, exactly. So they must be pointing the finger then at former players.
And this is the bit where I always disagreed when people say that ex-players should be sitting in all these disciplinary panels, etc. Yes, there is a place for it, because they can maybe deem differently how a player would maybe be challenging for a ball or what the expectations at that moment in time. If I was making up a panel to make judgments on football, I would certainly have an ex-player.
So would I. I would want that.
But you've got to have and must have someone who has a knowledge of the laws of the game, and whether that be a current referee committee member or someone who's ex of that standing. I mean, we look at it, Craig Thompson, probably our most decorated official that we have in Scottish football, is not involved in Scottish football. So why aren't you going to guys like him and saying, would you want to come? Now, he's working over in America. He's doing stuff with the Major League Soccer over there. But you have got to have somebody who can turn around and say to a player maybe give, well, I think he's went for the ball and he's not got it. And you can have a referee there who's giving the reason why that decision was made. Honestly, it baffles me why. And what's the secret? You could have a bank of 20 guys, 25 guys, and say these are our people who will formulate this key match incident panel.
Yeah, they don't need to be identified on a specific basis.
Yes, but they will be used on rotation on their availability. Is that not what Willie said at the start of the year about transparency and clarity and people being not surprised and unexpecting the results? If it was me, and they're never going to ask me, let's be honest, but I would quite happily put my name forward to it. Yeah, don't publish it that this Monday there's going to be Des, Daniel and Keith on the panel. But do you know what? One of them might be, and do you know what? They might not be used for another 5 weeks, but at least have a bank of people who are credible to do the job. At this moment in time, it's faceless. And for Dundee United to come out and say a lack of significant experience.
Yeah, if we had a KMI panel, I think it would probably be a key Michael incident. Sort of a group to look back at what Gannon has contributed over the last while.
It might come up empty.
I'm not sure he plays to a rule book though. Yeah. So I'm confused then, Des. Can you clarify in terms of the makeup of these review panels? Is it your understanding that it's former players or people from out with the refereeing fraternity?
I don't know if you. I think Des has muted himself, Keith. We can't hear you, Des, at our end. I tell you what. While Des is working on his mute, let me hit you with a few comments because we've had.
How's your sign language, Daniel?
We've had plenty of comments in this one. Ewan Booth, VAR needs to be binned ASAP. Instead of cleaning up controversial incidents, all it's done is made matters even more confusing for fans. Stu says VAR is an issue. It's who's interpreting the data. That's the main problem. And this one here, Cy Johnson, VAR has definitely lessened my enjoyment for football, particularly when attending in person. Just bin it now.
And this is the problem because I think there's a groundswell now, whether it's in the stands or whether it's in the boardrooms or whether it's in the dugouts. I think there's a bit of a groundswell. This feels like the beginning of a pile-on.